May the words of my mouth and the meditation of all our hearts be always acceptable in your sight, O Lord, our God and our Redeemer.
Amen.
Well, just a reminder that August is the month of compassion, and there is much in this issue of Jewish marriage and divorce which cries out for compassion and justice, especially for women. And in that this is a homily, there is no time really to flesh out this very important issue, because there are many aspects to it, and there are many aspects that apply to the way we live our lives today that go beyond the issue of marriage and divorce, and just look at the changing nature of people and the differences between them. But it wouldn't really be possible this morning to talk about those. So I'm going to take a summary approach. Jewish marriage was extremely important in the ancient world, and conjoined with the Old Testament injunction to go forth and multiply. And it's interesting that in this regard, very few people over the age of 20, whether it be men or women, actually were not married, because the emphasis was on marrying young and obviously having issue of that marriage. The instructions which accompanied the selection of a bride were significant. Just some of the conditions were that she must be a virgin. Well, in this day and age, that would make the institution of marriage extinct, I think. And also that there could be no slur of any type on her character. She must have good parentage, and a man could not corrupt another man's wife. The price of doing so was death for both of them. The aim of marriage was to live together until death do us part, either one or the other. Needless to say, contemplating marriage was something then not to be taken lightly. That said, given the social customs of the time, a man could make all the choices he wanted to, but women could not. A woman belonged to her father first, and then her husband. She had no legal rights of her own. Most marriages were arranged. However, even though these things were the norm, many men raised objections, and so marriage and subsequent divorce was a thorny subject, with many wanting different points of view to be taken into account. But in Malachi 2, verse 16, I think it states that God said, I hate divorce. No nation has ever held a higher view of marriage and divorce than the Jews. There's probably very little in terms of biblical injunctions that was as strict as marriage and divorce. And let's face it, that is still true in our modern society. Then and now, the ideal and the actuality do not go hand in hand. But focusing on divorce specifically, the initiative always remained with the husband. But it wasn't easy for a man to divorce his wife, in that if he did so on any grounds other than proven, and then again, there are many unusual ways of accepting that as proof, but proven flagrant immorality, he had to return her dowry, something he would not want to do. So men were always looking for a way to be able to divorce the woman that they no longer wanted to be with, but at the same time with as little inconvenience to themselves as possible. If the marriage was not consummated or impotence was proven, it was fairly easy to obtain a divorce. Some schools of thought stated that a man could divorce his wife if she spoiled his dinner. There were many simplistic issues which could lead to her no longer finding favor in his eyes. And once again, the man was always right. In general, a man could write a bill of divorce and send his wife penniless from his home. If adultery could be proven on either side, divorce was instantaneous. However, for a divorced woman to re-enter society was extremely difficult. And I could go on, but it just becomes a legal discourse. In modern society, we know that there are often real and sound reasons for divorce to occur. But notwithstanding that, the highest ideal of relationship between a man and a woman is marriage. Procreation is not the only or even the most important reason. Marriage between two people is embedded in commitment, and the ideal is lifelong commitment. And I know that I'm shouting against thunder when I say this, but in modern societies today, it is all too easy to divorce. Boredom sets in, whether it's real or imagined, and it becomes a reason to walk away. But in the eyes of the church, marriage is a very important factor. It personifies the relationship which God has with his bride, the church. It's a divine institution. This sermon is not based on principles of sexual persuasion, but rather the lifelong commitment which God expects from his children, his creation, for them to enjoy. In the first book of the Old Testament, we see the proclamation of marriage, a totality of union, one with another. Even the giving of a ring is a profound symbol of commitment to unending love within the love of God, who is love. We could debate where we as modern society have gone wrong, and each perspective would probably be correct. I know of a divorce lawyer whom I once asked whether he didn't get bored because he only handled divorces. His response was instantaneous. Why should I? I make far more money out of that, with relative ease. So why look elsewhere? Why look elsewhere has many connotations, and as this congregation profiles age and maturity, we are influenced, of course, by our own experience. And I suspect that no one here would deny that marriage is difficult, but that doesn't mean that it is irrelevant. Added to which, there's no possibility of doubt in terms of the divine intention of marriage. Our life in Christ is built on a committed relationship with him. We, in our human frailty, see many of the obstacles in our relationship with the person we decided to marry. It is true, of course, that we live in changing and challenging times, both for the church and for society in general. Many things are different today, and yes, we need to look at so much that could, in actual fact, symbolize and personify marriage in this day and age. And that perhaps is a debate for another day. But as long as God is in the center of the relationship, we have hope, we have strength, and we have courage.